Hi, I'm Roger Schlater. Today's video is really, what is the lender loan meeting like? And I've been through so many of these. I've been through as a banker. I've been through these as a consultant working with somebody. And usually what I would do if I was working with somebody is I would go ahead and meet the lender first without the borrower. And a lot of times, the lender will really tell me if he has any interest at all. And if he doesn't, why should you meet with the borrower too? It just wastes everybody's time. So anyway, when you have your lender loan documents, and I did a separate video on that, on the loan documents you need to show your lender. And you also have your short business loan proposal, and I also did a video on that. So anyway, you need those two things because you need all your loan documents because he's going to ask for them. And if you don't have them, he's going to write down a list and say, here's the documents you need to get me. So anyway, in your short business loan proposal, basically tells him in a very concise manner what he wants to hear. And it does walk him through the loan, so to speak. So anyway, when you call your lender, and what do you say? You say what? So you say you want to talk to a commercial lender. And a lot of times banks will say, here, talk to this branch manager here. They can do loans. They cannot do loans. They may be able to do really small loans, but really you want to talk to a commercial loan officer. I would pretty much say, hey, I really want to talk to a commercial loan officer, and they'll let you. I mean, and there's a lot of those guys that are looking for loans too. Now, when you get one, don't be too surprised. I mean, it is their job, to lend money out to businesses. But don't be surprised if he says, hey, I'm a commercial loan officer, but I'm going to refer you to this Joe over here, this other loan officer. And I wouldn't worry about that because it's usually more of a guy who hasn't been there quite as long, not quite as seasoned, but you got to start somewhere. And a lot of those guys, the newer guys, will be, eager to do any loan. They'll be more eager than a guy who's been there 10 years. So I wouldn't let that scare you at all. I would go ahead and talk to whoever he tells you to talk to. The phone conversation should basically ask to discuss a business loan. Mr. Banker, I would like to talk to you about a business loan. And when could we meet? So anyway, for an existing business, you really want to meet the business at your business, or meet the banker at your business. Now, when you are a new business or a startup business, I would either meet him in his office, the lender's office, or better yet, I would like to meet him at a coffee shop or a fast food place like a McDonald's. Usually if I'm at a coffee shop, I'll buy coffee because I like coffee. But I've been at McDonald's before or Burger King or wherever, and I've sat down and had meetings with customers and walked out without buying a thing. And I haven't had anybody bother me, maybe because I'm dressed nice or something, I don't know. I mean, usually have a shirt like this on, button-on collar, and I'll usually have nice pants on, maybe a jacket. So, but anyway, they're good places to meet if you're a new business because you don't have a business to take them to. So you got to meet them somewhere. An existing business, if you're meeting at your business, give the lender a tour of your business. Even if it's just walking out of your office saying, whoa, there's where we work on the cars, or hey, that's where we make the donuts or whatever. Show him how you're making it, or if there's people working, let him watch them for a minute or two. And then, if possible, if it's something that an individual, if it doesn't cost that much, you don't want to give them a car or a boat or something, but give them a sample. You wouldn't believe the times I've been at a food place and they're not going to give me a free sandwich. They're not going to give me a free donut. They're not going to give me nothing. And I'm like, man, that is, once a loan officer tastes or has your product and uses it, I guarantee you he's going to want to finance it because that personal aspect of that just comes into play. And I always, when I was a consultant too, I'd bring him to the business and give him a tour and then give him one of the products if I could. And force my customer to do that. So anyway, if you're a new business and you're meeting him at that McDonald's or that Starbucks, buy him a cup of coffee. I mean, what are you talking? Well, Starbucks you're probably talking a couple bucks, maybe $5, but McDonald's you're talking $2. And if you watch this 10 years from now, it's going to kind of date you because maybe they'll cost $50 by then. I don't know. So anyway, I would do that. I wouldn't. You don't have to buy them a meal. Those banks, a lot of them, they're if it's and you want to meet them. You don't want to meet them at lunch unless you're going to have lunch. You don't want to meet them at dinner unless you're going to have dinner. You want to meet them in those in between times because that's when those places, those Starbucks, those McDonald's, that's when that you can get a table and it's not packed. At lunch it's going to be packed. Dinner it could be packed. So anyway, how do you start this meeting? I always tell people to start with, you want to start with introductions. If you can usually pick out a banker when he walks in. I hate to say it, but I've only been wrong once or twice. But usually I'll walk in if I'm on time or late. I'll walk in and I'll see the guy, or I'll be there for a while and he's not there. And as soon as he walks in, I can pick him out. They usually have nice shirts on. Most of them don't have a tie anymore, but they'll have a nice shirt. They'll have a jacket, sport coat. They will have nice pants on. They won't have jeans, sneakers, and a t-shirt, I guarantee you. So anyway, you want to introduce yourself. Hey, hi, I'm Roger Slater, and he'll tell you who he is, and explain. Exchange pleasantries. It's a hot day out there, or it's a nice day out there, or whatever. I mean, very few times have I ever gone to a meeting and people said, "Let's start." I mean, it just doesn't happen. So anyway, you really want to, after you do the introductions and stuff, you want to take your short business loan proposal. God, I hope I don't get that wrong. And then, because I wrote that thing. So anyway, you want to take that and you want to give it to the banker. You want to have a copy for him and a copy for you. Now, what I've said before is that sometimes people put them on those little drives. If you do that, still bring a copy for him because some banks don't let them use those drives. I've worked at a whole lot of places that don't let you use the drives. They have them programmed, the computers that just, hey, don't accept these, so they won't. So you always want to have that. If you're going to put it on that, that's fine, but also have a regular copy of your short business loan proposal. A copy for him and a copy for you so you can interact while he's looking at it, or you can walk him through it. That's how you should do it. You should use it as a template. Use it as a business aid to kind of walk him through your loan. So he'll ask questions. A lot of them you'll know the answer to. If you do not know the answer, have a piece of paper and a pen, write down the question, and then find out that question later that day or the next day, and send it to him or email him or whatever. So anyway, and that's very important. I mean, if he asks a question you don't know and you just say, oh, well I don't know, you need to find out the answer to that question. So anyway, the lender, if he brings up SBA, like, well, how would you feel about doing an SBA loan? Just tell him or her, just say, hey, whatever you can do would be appreciated. If you're going to do the loan, I'd really appreciate, getting the money and being able to do my project. Remember before the end of the meeting to go ahead and ask, when can I expect you to get back to me, or should I call you? Because most banks meet once a week. They don't meet like once a month. They meet once a week. And so a lot of times, if you give him your short business loan proposal and everything's written down and it's all pretty accurate, he can take that and he can write it like that afternoon or something. So a lot of times they would have to send it to the people that are going to be at that meeting. They'd have to send it like a day or two ahead of time. And then those meetings are once a week. So, that already eats into like 2 or 3 days. So, but he can probably get back to you within a week or so, especially if he's interested. If you're showing your proposal to multiple banks, you might want to tell him that you're looking at a couple of banks. And if you're showing it to 2 banks, it's a couple. If you're showing it to 4, it's a couple. If you're showing it to 10 banks, it's a couple of banks. So just remember, it's never, I'm going to show this to every bank in town. Yeah, I'm probably looking at a couple of banks. and that's fine. If he asks you who they are, I would just say, well, you know, one's my bank, and then I haven't chosen the other one or something, you know. But you're already meeting with him, so you know the worst thing that can happen if you show it to one bank is that it could take him. Let's say he drags it on for three weeks, 3 months, and then calls you and says, hey, I'm sorry, I can't do this loan. You've just wasted a ton of time. And I've seen this happen in real life. I've had people come to me when I was a lender and say, I thought for sure they were going to do it, and they kept telling me, oh yeah, I'm getting it approved, it's in underwriting, blah blah blah, and then all of a sudden, no, we're not going to do this loan, and the person's devastated because they've wasted like anywhere from a month to 3 months waiting for that bank to say yes and give them the money. So anyway, yeah, I would look at least at 4 banks, and like I said before, the 4 banks I've seen before where one bank didn't care, the other bank, you know, kind of was interested, and then you got another bank that could be your neighbor and he'll turn you down, and then the other bank will probably do it. So they're all looking at exactly the same information, but their banks have different wants and different needs, and they have different wants and different interests. So you know, if one bank turns it down, do not let that deter you. I would talk to at least 4 banks if I was getting a loan. And then if people start turning you down, it's not bad. Some banks won't tell you why they're turning you down. So if they write you a letter and just say, hey, we're not going to do this loan, we've declined it, then call the guy up and say, hey, you know, I'm still looking for a bank. Can you tell me why you turned it down? And usually they'll tell you. I mean, if you're nice about it and you're not yelling at him and saying, why did you turn this down? I mean, a lot of times they'll be nice back. They'll say, oh, I turned it down because, you know, you haven't been in business that long, or I turned it down because you didn't have any additional collateral, or whatever. And then that could, you know, it could open up stuff. You could say, well, what if I corrected those things? You know, would you want to relook at it? And sometimes they'll say, yes, yeah, I'll relook at it if you correct those things. I did have the one bank that I worked at where one of the head of lending people just told me, you know, for all the small loans, he said, oh, just run the credit, and then you'll probably be able to turn them down. And I was like, God, what? I mean, how terrible is that? You're running credit hoping they're bad credits so you can turn them down. So anyway, you never know exactly what the motivations are for different banks. What trips their trigger? You know, you never know. So anyway, thank you very much. And if you if you enjoyed this kind of content, I hope you subscribe and hit the notification bell for future videos. And then if you found anything that you can take back, or that you found anything of value, you know, I hope you hit the like button. So anyway, thank you very much. I appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next video.